Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. If you've been enjoying my famous cinnamon roll recipe, you are going to love this fall version. Today I'm going to be making my double pumpkin cinnamon rolls with cream cheese icing. These are packed with so much incredible fall flavor. We're going to be adding the pumpkin puree into the dough and into the filling, and then finish these off with a cinnamon cream cheese icing. Every single bite is just bursting with so much incredible flavor. And for this recipe, I'm also going to be using my unique baking method with just one secret ingredient that transforms these cinnamon rolls, makes them extra soft and so delicious. So stay tuned, let's get started and I'll show you just how easy these are to make. And I'm going to get this recipe started with the pumpkin dough. So I'm going to be using a large mixing bowl, and I've heated 1 cup of whole milk in the microwave until it was lukewarm. I'm going to pour it into my mixing bowl. You want to make sure that the milk is not too hot, otherwise it's going to kill the yeast and then the dough will not rise. Into the milk, I'm going to sprinkle 1 tablespoon of dry active yeast. Just sprinkle it over the top, and I'm just going to let this yeast stand for about 5 minutes, allowing it to proof, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. And after 5 minutes, I'm going to whisk the yeast into the milk until it's nicely combined. And into my milk and yeast mixture, I'm going to be adding in half a cup of white granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a 1/3 cup of melted butter, 2 large eggs, and half a cup of pumpkin puree. Drop that right in. I'm going to grab my whisk and mix this all together for a few minutes until the eggs are well beaten. You want a nice uniform mixture. And now I'm ready to add my flour. So I'm going to add in a little bit at a time. And when I first start adding the flour, I'm going to whisk it in, and then as the dough starts to form, I'm going to switch over to a spatula, and then I'll knead it with my hands. And doesn't the color of this dough look absolutely amazing? I love that pumpkin color. And once a soft dough forms, you could turn it out onto your work surface. I'm just going to sprinkle it with a little bit of flour. And for today's recipe, I'm using 5 to 5.5 cups of flour. Some of it I'm going to reserve just for flouring my work surface. Turn that out. And the key to making really great cinnamon rolls is keeping that dough really soft. So you don't want to add too much flour. Add just enough to make it really soft, but not sticky. And I'm going to continue kneading the dough for about 4 to 5 minutes, and you can kind of sprinkle the flour in as needed if you find like little sticky spots in the dough. And I have about half a cup of the flour still left over on the side. And my pumpkin dough is all done and ready to proof. I'm going to place it back into my mixing bowl, just drop it back in, and then I'm going to cover it with a clean kitchen towel and tuck it away into a warm corner of my kitchen where it could proof. It'll take about an hour to proof and double up in size. Just try to keep it away from any cold air or drafts, which will slow down the proofing process. We'll come back to roll out this dough and shape the rolls. And my dough has proofed beautifully. It's risen really nicely. I'm going to punch it down, and then I'm going to lightly flour my work surface. Turn this dough out onto the work surface, and we're going to give it a quick knead, just for about 30 seconds. I'm going to flour my rolling pin, and then we're going to start rolling this dough. So you need to roll it out into a nice and large rectangle. And I rolled my dough out into a large rectangle. It's about 16 by 19 inches. Next, I'm going to add my butter. So I have half a cup of softened unsalted butter, and this is like super, super soft butter. I'm just going to spread it evenly. I want a nice even layer all over the top of the dough. It's going to help that cinnamon sugar really stick to the surface. And for my cinnamon sugar, I have 1 cup of brown sugar. To that, I'm going to add in 2.5 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. Well, lots and lots of cinnamon in these. And I'm going to grate about a teaspoon of fresh nutmeg in here. And then just mix this all together until you have a uniform mixture. And I'm going to take the cinnamon sugar and sprinkle it evenly over the top. And I'm going to use my hands and rub it into that butter spread that we added. And time for my pumpkin. So I have about 3/4 cups of pumpkin puree, and I'm going to add little dollops all over the surface of my cinnamon sugar. And then grab your offset spatula and gently spread it into that cinnamon sugar. This is going to be so good, guys. A little bit of cinnamon, some pumpkin. And now let's roll it up. So I'm going to start at one end, and you want to roll it up lengthwise so you have a nice long log. Just gently fold over this first part, just like that. And you don't want to squeeze the dough too tightly because you don't want that filling coming out the sides. Just kind of gently roll the dough onto itself. And I'm going to grab a really sharp knife and start cutting the roll into pieces. You want to have a super sharp knife so you're not squishing the dough, you're just very gently cutting it. And this recipe is going to make 12 rolls, so I like to split it in the middle first, cut it into quarters, and then you could cut each quarter into thirds. And then transfer the rolls into a large casserole pan. And these pumpkin cinnamon rolls are looking so good already, and they are ready for their second proofing. I'm going to let the rolls proof for about 30 minutes or until they're doubled up in size. While these are proofing, I'm going to get my oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and then once they're done proofing, they're going into the oven, and I'm going to show you my special little trick that I use to make these cinnamon rolls extra soft and extra delicious. And now for my secret ingredient for these pumpkin cinnamon rolls. So I let them proof for 30 minutes and then I baked them for 10 minutes. So at the 10-minute baking mark, I took them out of the oven, and now I'm going to add about half a cup of cream. You could also use whole milk. I'm just going to gently pour this over the cinnamon rolls, and this cream is going to make these rolls so soft, so fluffy, and so delicious. You guys are going to love it. Once I add the cream, I'm going to place these back into the oven, and I'm going to let them bake for another 22 to 25 minutes until they're nice and golden brown on top. And while my cinnamon rolls finish baking in the oven, I'm going to make that easy cream cheese icing. So I have 8 ounces of cream cheese that I've softened at room temperature. I'm just going to cream this for a couple minutes until that cream cheese is really smooth. And to my cream cheese, I'm going to be adding in 1 cup of confectioner's sugar, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a sprinkle of ground cinnamon, and then mix this all together again, just until it's nice and creamy. And that's it for my cream cheese icing. It is super, super easy to make. It's super creamy, and it's going to be really delicious on top of the pumpkin cinnamon rolls. And I just took my cinnamon rolls out of the oven. I've let them cool down for just a few minutes, and I'm going to add that cream cheese icing on top of the rolls while they're still warm. And when you add them while they're still warm, that cream cheese just kind of melts into the rolls, and it's just gonna be so, so delicious. And these rolls smell so incredible. They just fill your kitchen with the most incredible fall aroma. That cinnamon, that pumpkin, it's so incredible. You guys are gonna love these. And that is it, guys, for my pumpkin cinnamon rolls. These turned out phenomenal. I cannot wait to dig in and enjoy. For the full recipe, don't forget to head on down in the video description box for the recipe link. I have everything up on my website for you guys, and I'll also link my original cinnamon roll recipe so you can check that one out as well. Time to dig in and enjoy. These are just so, so fluffy. And then I love that cream cheese icing on top. I'm going to get lots of that icing, and you can actually serve some of that extra icing on the side as well. These are just so good. Wow. If you love pumpkin and all things fall, you are going to be head over heels in love with these pumpkin cinnamon rolls. There is so much incredible flavor going on. That pumpkin combined with the cinnamon, and then the texture and the flavors, all of it is just the most beautiful symphony of flavors. I absolutely love how fluffy this dough is. It's super, super light, and it has just like a light touch of cinnamon and pumpkin, and then you get that incredible cinnamon pumpkin and the cinnamon sugar filling on the inside combined with that cream cheese icing. You cannot ask for a better pumpkin fall recipe. If you're looking for something incredibly delicious to try out this season, this is the recipe for you. Don't forget to head on down to that video description box for the recipe link. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe at home. And if you do make it, you can always share with me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Pinterest. All of my accounts are under the same name, Tatyana's Everyday Food. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new recipe.